What is this?
It's a question from somebody.
Okay.
One of our followers. They wanted to know the population of different groups and areas, if by average there were more old souls or young souls incarnating into the groups or areas.
Oh, that
Um,
is really interesting, isn't it?
it could be. Don't like to lead anyone into any assumptions on any type of minority. Our lives, we choose our life, so um you really can't discriminate or use any of this information to assume any opinions on any person. But
Okay, but I understand the questions here because look, the first one, what percentage of your population for Compton, California? And I know who posed these questions, and by the way, they're Black, okay? So I don't want anybody sitting here going this, that, and the other, right? Don't be stupid. I know who posed these questions, and he's a very intelligent person, and he's Black. Okay, so what percentage of your population are old souls versus young souls? I see why he's asking this. It's like, are we throwing ourselves into these, terrible circumstances?
Well, we sure are.
Right? Why are we designing it that way? Is it because we're old souls that still need to learn a lot, or are we young souls? So these are very valid questions. So let's ask. I'm going to grab Compton. And I'm going to ask, what percentage of your population are old souls? And actually, it just gave me very little. What population are young souls? The majority are young souls. And this is another reason this is a valid question, is because when you're a young soul, you have to experience so much more than an old soul. An old soul tends to graduate into this like higher plane of living, right? It's an easier existence. Why? Because you've already gone through all of it. You've already been through hell and back, right?
Mm-hmm.
So these are very interesting questions. So it looks like the population of Compton is mainly like young souls. Now, what's the next one?
Well, it's just the Crips is a. Just think of it as Crips. It's a gang.
Oh.
I don't know what this is, but just think of the Crips.
Okay, Santana Blood Crips. Let me group them as an entity. Okay, what population are old souls? Very little. What population are young souls? A lot. So again, we throw ourselves in really impossible circumstances to optimize the learning. Now, when we make these contracts, the problem is that, and I've said this before, is that we are so full of love and joy. All of the bad stuff, all of the bad emotions, the frustrations, the unhappiness, the depression, life is impossible, this is awful. We don't have any concept of that when we're making these soul contracts.
Oh, exactly. Right? Yeah, exactly. The life of struggle, being murdered, all these bad things, for example, are things that sound interesting for your soul. So, I mean, our physical, you can't look at these things through a physical lens. These are choices we make from a higher perspective. But let's skip this because I don't know what that is. Can we just go to Democrat and Republican?
Yeah, okay. Yeah, we can do that.
I mean, obviously, I feel like Democrat will be young souls, obviously, I think. Well, I might be totally wrong.
I don't know. So let's go Democratic Party. Let's group them together. Historically, what percent of your membership are old souls versus young souls? It's about 50-50. It's a big mix.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, is that these will be 50-50, because I mean, politics is just what you're sucked into and what your parents really think. I think, besides, there's a few other factors and variables like your social economic status. We get molded into either or very easily. Can we go?
Republican Party, are you old soul or new soul? Republican Party, it just seems around 50-50 as well.
Yeah, totally agree. Can we go straight to the Buddhist Society?
Okay. Okay, I've got them. What percentage are old souls for? Okay, old souls is like 99.9%.
Oh yeah. Can we ask Buddha what he thinks about the reincarnation cycle of a cow?
It's very unfair.
But is a cow or a bull the highest level of reincarnation?
What is it? What's the question?
If a cow or a bull is the highest level of reincarnation.
Is a cow or bull the highest level of reincarnation? No.
I mean, I might be a little bit wrong, because I don't live on this side of the planet, but I do know that bovine are treated as the highest form of reincarnation, and I even see them drinking their urea like it's their uh, like a blessing or something. But you just asked Buddha, and he just said no. So I have to agree, but I really don't know where this idea comes from that a cow is like the highest form of existence.
Where does the idea that a cow is the highest form of existence? It's folklore.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, yeah, there's some very interesting things that happen in this area.
Is slaughtering a cow taboo? Yes. But then Buddha's going to tell us that all animals, we shouldn't eat meat at all.
Does Jesus think we should eat meat?
Do you think we should eat meat? Yes, it's necessary. But should everybody eat meat? No, not everybody has to eat meat, but meat is a necessity.
All right.
Jesus says, if everybody was vegan, the planet would run out of food.
Look at this cute cow. Yep. But there's a lot of greenhouse gases, unfortunately, from cows, mostly probably in the United States, I'm assuming, from our huge fields of cows. So there's a few other questions that people have asked us. One question someone has asked us is if ghosts, aka our dead relatives, can hear our thoughts?
Are ghosts dead relatives that can hear our thoughts? No, not necessarily.
And who are you asking that?
Buddha.
Can you ask Buddha who can hear our thoughts?
Who can hear our thoughts? Everyone in the universe.
Does Buddha think that ghosts are outside of the realm of the universe?
Do you believe that ghosts are outside the realm of the universe? No.
Ask Buddha why he thinks that ghosts don't hear our thoughts.
What do you think? No, they do. Okay, but it was were they our relatives? Wasn't the question like were they our relatives? It's not necessarily that they are our relatives or ancestors. That's what the reason you got to know on that. That ghosts can hear your thoughts.
So an interesting concept that Abraham, through Esther Hicks, mentioned was the concept that our mind, our brain, isn't really a sealed kind of area. More so, it's like a train station of other entities and other vibrations. Can you ask Abraham, the collective, if our thoughts are intermingling with spirits?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay, and then continuing the conversation with Abraham, if we remember or think of an event with our dead relative, is it most likely that the thought came from that relative?
We're thinking of a dead relative. Is it most likely relative? No.
Is there a shared relationship between our memory of the relative and the actual relative?
The actual relative. Yes.
How can we better communicate with our non-physical relatives?
Relatives. You have to accept that they are in your space, even though you cannot see or hear them. They're always there.
And the first thing that most of our viewers are going to think of is our privacy. What does Abraham think about our privacy in this perspective?
What do you think about our privacy in this perspective? There is no privacy. I've always said that.
Yeah.
I've always said that. There is no privacy. If I can mind probe,
Yeah.
everything around the globe, whenever I want to, there's no privacy there. There's no, you know what I mean? Like, because people think that by putting up the ball of white light, you're protected, from entities. And yes, you probably are protected from entities. But as Lynn Buchanan so famously says, you're a sitting duck for a remote viewer.
So, trying to think of a non-biased, non-physical entity. Can we just ask Abraham Lincoln something?
Yes.
So, Abraham Lincoln doesn't know me or you. Let's ask Abraham Lincoln, does he spy on people who are in the nude?
Do you spy on people that are in the nude? Yes.
But what does he think about it, considering he's non-physical and probably doesn't really care about a physical body anymore?
What do you think about it? Doesn't think anything.
Does he think it's interesting, or what is his perspective?
No, no. Spirit don't find that very interesting,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, that's what I would assume. So I mean, there's, let's just say, 9% of the psychics out there are a little psychologically preoccupied with wondering if their family is watching them, walking around their house. But
Oh, well, yeah, they are, but it's not the same as like how we think on human earth plane terms, right?
yeah,
It's just it's just is. I can't, you know, this is something that came through in a reading that I did probably a couple of months ago, where this very religious family, the mom always said the trumpets, and I'm going to be seated at the throne of God, and everything's going to be wonderful, the golden gates of heaven.
who said that?
It came through in a reading, and it
Oh,
was
okay.
actually the loved one that passed that said,
Wow.
this is nothing like what I expected. It's just is. It's just there, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
It's just, it's hard to, like, here we experience so many emotions, right? How many emotions are there? I mean, can we even count them all? You don't experience all of those emotions in the spirit world. You usually just get like 2 or 3 emotions, which are like love, gratitude, and
Yeah.
joy, right?
True. Um, so the Abraham that you have in your connection space, can you ask them if they said this in the past? The entire universe is conspiring to give you everything that you want.
The entire universe is conspiring to give you everything that you want. No, everything that you need.
Well, but to be specific, this is what they actually channeled through. So the question is, if they just trying to drill down on whether or not this is the same Abraham that talks through Esther Hicks.
Did you actually say that at one time? She said it for us.
Okay, but they meant something else than what she said.
Did you mean something else than what she said? That is correct.
So when Abraham Hicks is talking, is it truly 100% Abraham, or is it through Esther's brain that she is translating it?
She's translating.
And so does Abraham wish that there was a more direct mode of conversation?
No.
So how quickly did they say no before I was done with that sentence?
I know. Isn't that amazing? It's like they already know what you're going to say before I can even, before you even finish your sentence. Spirit already knows what you're going to say.
So where is Abraham in this universe that we're in right now? Are they in the physical universe or in the non-physical universe?
Physical universe. No, they're non-physical.
And what's their perspective? Are they enjoying their existence?
Are you enjoying your existence? No, they'd rather be on the earth plane.
Well, that is a very true statement. If you hear Abraham, they say that where they're at is a little bit boring. compared to they consider quote unquote physical existence is the cutting edge of reality.
You say physical existence is the cutting edge of reality. It's the be all and end all.
So that's really weird to me because, we're here, but our goal is to raise up in vibration. But these higher vibrational beings are telling us the only thing that matters is this lower vibrational space. So can you ask Abraham why the earth plane matters when you're a higher vibrational being?
Because it's where you optimize your learning and your growth.
Okay, why can't we optimize our learning and growth in non-physical?
Because we don't have the same circumstances.
Such
We
as?
don't have any circumstances.
Like what? Ask him if you can, please.
Like struggle, poverty, relationships, having to earn things, working.
The non-physical can't really relate to any of those things because non-physical, you don't need money, you don't need race, politics. So it's what's interesting is that non-physical believes that there is value in all these completely useless ideologies that we go through. Like, so why do we need to go through this useless stuff? If you ask Abraham.
All these useless things. Because, if you want to say politics as an example,
yeah,
it shapes the way we think and brings about the experiences according to our thought process.
But so here's a problem I have with that statement is this is one incarnation versus a previous incarnation. Let's just say, a very staunch Republican in this life might have been the most artistic liberal they could have ever imagined in their past life. So I'm just wondering, is there value in being so stubborn with our beliefs?
Is there value in being so stubborn with our beliefs? No, it actually is a trap when you're very stubborn in your beliefs. So you have to find a way out of that trap.
Yeah, I honestly feel like the end of that trap is when you're old enough to just see your grandchildren and they have their own views and you kind of just give up on your own views because you realize that your perspective is outdated. It's kind of like how I assume most people will reach the turning point. But
okay, you don't know that many old people, do you?
Well, I mean,
most of them sit in front of the TV shouting at Fox News all day. What are you talking about?
I know.
I find that some of them get worse.
Honestly.
Because there's nothing else to do. So then they become fixated on, being a grumpy old political man.
Oh yeah. I'm very well, so me being so open-minded and flexible and plastic in my way of thinking, it's so hard for me to grasp when people are so hard-headed. I'm like, really? You can't flex? But
and they get angry about it. That's my biggest thing. Okay. Yeah. Is that they become extremely angry. Take, for example, that Lisa Marie Presley probe I did.
Mm-hmm.
The amount of hate comments and emails.
Oh, really?
You have no idea what you're talking about. First of all,
What,
I wasn't a fan of Lisa Marie or Elvis,
what
right?
what was the probe? It was
The
Elvis
probe
or
was
something.
she wasn't that close to her dad after all, right?
Yeah.
But you have to understand, and these people believe the PR machine. You know,
Is this
talking about Elvis, the fact that you're Elvis's daughter, the fact that he
okay?
was so
Got it.
famous, right?
Yeah.
It's a money-making machine. So of course you're going to go talk about your dad. Of
Well,
course you're going to say very positive things.
what I want to clarify with everyone though that's listening to this, that made it this far into this conversation, is what you get is their deepest beliefs, because like you always say, there's a public PR spin. I, I don't know anything about Elvis's daughter or whatever, but I've seen plenty of our other probes where you mentioned a person not having a close relationship, and I'm like, really? But my perspective is the public, and you're probing the private. So I just want to make that distinction.
Well, that's true, but where you're talking about, having different viewpoints other than what you believe, and as Abraham Collective just told us, not being able to accept other viewpoints is a trap. Doesn't mean that you have to live in a certain way. It just means that you're so closed off to other, concepts and belief systems. And it doesn't necessarily have to be political. It could be like alien. It could be like ghosts. It could be like the spirit world, Bigfoot, Chupacabra, whatever, Chupacabra, skin. Who cares? But it means that you shut off other information that could possibly enhance your spiritual journey. So going back to this Lisa Marie Presley probe, where people who are, I guess, diehard Elvis fans and believed everything that she said, they need to understand something. And I grew up in the music business, so I know how this works. And children of very famous musicians struggle if they can't there's so much pressure on them, right, to be somebody. Oh, your dad was, or your mom was, so you have to be too. And a lot of times they just end up trying to carry the torch for the parent that was. And that was the only way that they could make money, right? Now, yes, she had a lot of money, but she burned through a lot of money. And a lot of people knew that. That was public information. How much money she just burned through. It was like water. It went through her fingers. So what better way to make more money than to do an interview talking about how much you love your father? Because the money's going to pour in, right? You're going to sell his work. You're going to sell his albums. You're going to continue to profit off of his legacy. But when we were channeling her in the spirit world, she was like, he didn't really care about me. I didn't see much of him. I was just a burden. I was just hanging around. Other people looked after me. We weren't close. And so that sort of information was really hard for a lot of people to hear. And the amount of hate and the anger, that's the thing. I may sway to and I really don't, but maybe I lean to a particular side. I try not to. But when I hear other information from another side, I don't really care. Like, it doesn't, I'm not going to get angry and start shouting and screaming and sending hate mail. It's just a very strange concept. But as the Abraham Collective has just told us, that's a trapped mindset. And think of the amount of time you're actually wasting on refining your political viewpoint, right? That is such a time wasting exercise when you could be learning and engaged in so many other things.
Oh, I agree.